Tales of the Titans, issue 1. This is the Starfire issue. It's Shannon and Dean Hale writing with Javier Rodriguez on the art. Matt read this. I don't know if Connor did too, actually.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Because
Okay.
Matt told me that it was good.
Oh, well, okay.
And did you concur?
Yes.
There was a pause. There was a pause there.
Yes, I was worried. So this book. So was this a digital first? Because that's what Connor was saying. That
Pete told me that it might have been, but
I thought it was because of the way it popped up in the same way that some of those other minis did that were digital first. But I don't actually think it is. I think it's just
no.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I like about this is like how the character was introduced back in the 80s, right? They did these Tales of the Teen Titans, and they were stories about Beast Boy, Ravens, Cyborg, and Starfire, and we got to know those characters as they're showing up. And here we're seeing not how far they've come, but what they've become since then. At least that's what the vibe I got from Starfire.
Yeah, it's very much set present continuity. They're just like hanging out in the Titans Tower. They've just moved in again together. So pretty much right at the start of the Titans book. And
so at the beginning, they're hanging out, and Starfire goes to get her lunch, but Beast Boy's eating it, and it's living with Kara. Forgot that everything is nothing is sacred and whatnot, and he calls her princess, like playfully, and she kind of cops an attitude. She's like, all right, look, don't call me princess. Tamaran doesn't exist anymore. That's not who I am. I've done other things since then. And then the Titans get a call, and to go, there's from Oracle, they get in Utah, there's some kind of bee colony collapse. So, they go to deal with that, and Corey's, coming a little behind, and Oracle comes back through and says, well, there's something else. I got an alien ship coming in. It seems like it's Tamaranian.
And they've sent out a distress signal looking for you.
Looking for Princess Coriander, right? And so, and while she's talking about this too, she also talks about her weird relationship with Barbara because of Dick, and that she wishes she could be closer with Babs because they actually do have a lot in common, and probably one of my favorite panels in the whole book is they're at a Black Canary show.
Yeah.
And, screaming the words along to the song, together. And so, from when they were a little bit younger.
The art in this Rodriguez is phenomenal.
Yeah. It's got this flat style, and he uses kind of negative space to draw Corey, where we get told throughout the book, because of the experiments that the Scions did on her, she became kind of this being of energy and light. And so sometimes he draws her without hard lines, and and the color makes up the negative
lettering
space.
Plays into it as well, where a lot of the times there's no boxes. It's not always. There are boxes around lettering at points, but other times there's just a line, and then just to connect it to Corey, so you can show it's coming from her, but then the text is just in the negative space.
And so so it makes her seem larger than life. So she she goes off. The Titans go to deal with the bee collapse and whatnot, and she goes and sees these Tamaranians, and they land, and it's two sisters from a long lost moon colony of Tamaran, and they said that she's the princess, and that they've heard about her feats as a Titan, and they want to come to her for help. And so she agrees, but she tells them, don't call me a princess. That's not who I am anymore.
Were you getting real vibes of Leia in the sequel trilogy?
A bit, right?
Yeah.
Up until there's a turn that she makes that I really enjoy.
But for a lot of this book, it was very much a whole Leia wanted to be called General, not Princess.
Yes, and so she starts talking to the sisters, and she starts to pick up on vibes there that one of them, is this typical what you think of a Tamaranian, bubbly, fun, spunky, and there's a bit of a darkness to the other one. And she starts to pick up on their dynamics, is that one of them feels like they have to protect the other. And she starts to think of her and her sister, Commander or Blackfire. And they get to talking, and she starts to be like, well, I gotta prep them because I can't have one turn on the other. And they get into her origin about the Scions taking them and giving her and her sister these superpowers. And that's originally why they wanted her help, is she has become, bigger than Tamaran itself. And that, they get to the planet because they have these minds that were left during a war, but instead of like just exploding, they belong to like this tentacle creature, and they just sprout up, and they've been wrecking, just
stealing
chaos.
the food, like the animals.
The animals,
like
and
in this instance, there's a goat,
goats.
little space goat.
Which also reminded me of, did Tim write this? Because there's a lot of affection for this goat.
There is, yeah.
And so Starfire gets there, and she handles it, and she figures out how this creature is doing this with the mines, and puts it at bay for a minute, and that's where she gets talking to the sisters and the other people in the town, and she realizes that this is what's left of Tamaran, right? This is the colony. It didn't go up with the rest of the planet, and they have a temple to Exhal, which is one of their goddesses, and they start comparing Corey to Exhal, and she gets really bent out of shape, and she's like, "Yeah, look, we're very similar in that we were abducted by the Scions and given power, but I'm no god. I'm just a person, right?" And she starts to see that the sisters do care for each other. There's no rivalry. They're helping each other repair this temple to Exhal. They're helping each other through the farm, and she realizes like, oh no, these Tamaranians are in a better place, right?
Yeah, and there's an elder in the community who keeps calling her princess, and he doesn't understand why she's getting so offended by that. He's like, well, that's kind of what you are. Like that's a good. He sees it as a good thing. It's
a good thing, and then they bring up to her like, well, yeah, but a princess is someone that like uses her power to help others and be strong for the sake of their community. And then he goes, that's also very similar to what you would call a hero. So are you not a hero either? And that really makes Corey question like her own, like, am I a princess? Am I a hero? Like, are they interchangeable? And as she's grasping with this big tentacle monster attacks the town, and she has to snap into, hero mode. And all the people in this town are seeing her take out this tentacle monster. And she's hitting them with her star bolts, and she's flying around, and the art is great.
Oh, it's there's a sequence the first time where she's using the goat as bait, and all like you're expecting like one tentacle, so one pops up and she destroys it, and there's a panel where like 5 or 6 of them pop up at once, and you assume that it's going to be a oh no moment, and instead because this panel is just pure negative space, and all you see is her mouth and just this smile, and then this sequence of taking them all, and it's great.
Yeah. And right, so she ends up leaving there being okay with being called princess, right? Like she
comes to the conclusion that all heroes are princesses, including Gar.
Including Gar, right? So as she's flying back, she's getting a distress call from Donna, which I feel like they're really in this, newer version of the Titans, is that Donna and Starfire are super, super close, which I knew they were close back in the day, but they're playing them up like they are Wally and Dick, like they're, the best friends on the team. And that Donna's calling out that they need her backup because it wasn't just a bee colony collapse, it's Queen Bee. And it's, this alien version of her, and they need Corey's help because she is, she's the powerhouse on the team. Because Queen Bee's, made a bunch of drones out of the people in this town. And they're kind of, what are they, holed up, behind barriers so they don't hurt any of these people.
They're like makeshift, like all the cars to like hold them in.
Right. And also Donna thinks that Oracle can't hear this transmission, and they get talking about her relationship with Barbara, if it's still as weird as it seems. And, Donna was like, oh, she could hear this? Barbara, you're very good at your job. So there's a bit of tension breaking there, but Corey comes through, saves the day, realizes how to beat Queen Bee. And then they go back to Titan's Tower. And she realizes like she wants to get closer with Barbara. Like there's no reason why they can't be close friends again. Because as they're, she's coming back in, Barbara starts playing the song that they were singing along to. And she's like, oh, Barbara does remember, that, I'm not this threat to her and Dick's relationship. We can be friends.
And it was really smart the way this was done, because obviously when we saw that panel flashback earlier, it showed us them singing the lyrics.
Yeah.
So what it does here is it just shows you the lyrics again, and it's like, oh, this is that song.
Right. And they get back to Titan's Tower, and Corey talks about how hungry she is, right? Because all of the superheroing has built up such a hunger, and she goes and grabs Gar's lunch because in the beginning he had taken hers and started chomping down.
Yeah, which starts a food fight.
Starts a food fight, but he also calls her princess, and she doesn't argue.
It is.
He's like, "Yeah, that's right. I am a princess."
Also, can we talk about how Cyborg has a Etrigan cornflakes?
Yes, he has the chicken cornflake cereal. So it starts a food fight, and then a little bit more ominously, Raven pops up. Talking about how are things back to normal within the Titans. Maybe not so much. So, with a tease for the next issue, which is going to be about Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think I remember being not too excited by the writer for it, which was frustrating. But know.
Yeah, I thought this was a really nice addition to Corey's lore, right? Where we don't get a lot.
I really like the stuff
anymore.
at the end where her and Donna just go and fly off for a little bit and have a little, it's just a one-on-one conversation. Yeah.
So, but her deciding to take that back as princess, she still can be a princess. Doesn't mean if she's the princess of Tamaran, but it is what she does that defines her. Not just the title. And no matter what she is, she's always just going to be Corey, and Starfire, the hero of Tamaran. But yeah, very, very fun issue, And again, as a Starfire nerd, of course, I was going to read it.
And then, like I say, art is just phenomenal, and just a lot of little bits. Just, it's nice seeing them hanging around at the tower again. Wally at the end, where he's like, "Right, I'm off," and then he's just over his Flash outfit. He's just putting on this really casual jacket. It's just a weird image, but I was like, okay,
yeah, and and a lot of the action sequences on the alien planet, right? It looks like these frontier homes, so it's this little bit of almost like not even Americana, but like small town ish that really gets, parlayed into why she does this, right? It reminds her of Tamaran of old too. So it brings up these complex feelings. But yeah, a very, very good book, especially after reading Night Terror stuff. This was a beautiful port in a storm.
Yeah. So it's possible that my rating is slightly higher of it having come off after reading such a bunch of mediocre to bad books, and this was just so good in comparison.
Yeah.
But
and I don't think I've read anything by the Hales. I'm assuming they're related, having the same last name. I don't know if.
Well, I assume they're either related or married.
Right, but I mean, they really have a handle on the Titans characters. The interpersonal stuff between them. And again, I always put Raven and Starfire together, but I don't know if that's just from the TV show, right? And how opposites attract there is Raven's always, the dark emo chick, and then Corey's the bright bubbly. So
you've got that
dynamic. But if I remember right, Donna and Starfire were both always, they're besties throughout. Because I believe they were both meant to be the maid of honors at each's wedding, if I remember my Titans lore is right. So seeing them back have something going on beyond Donna just being a leftover Wonder Girl or with Tempest, right? Like it's giving her something else to do. I like that.
Yeah, I was just looking up to see what else they'd written. Apparently they are a married couple.
Okay.
Honestly, not a lot of comics work. They've written a few young adult books in general.
Okay.
Comics. They had a story in the Wonder Woman 750.
Okay.
And other than that, it's just a couple of little free comic book day stuff. A lot of it's Wonder Woman related by the look of it.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why they get Donna so well. Maybe they have an affection for Donna Troy.
But they did a great job. Considering they haven't had a lot of comics experience.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It doesn't show in this. They clearly understand the medium.
Right.
A lot better than some other, we see novelists or screenwriters even, which is a lot closer, coming to write comics all the time, and it can feel kind of clunky.
Yep.
This did not at all. So
they really let the art do a lot of the storytelling. Like Connor was saying, those action sequences with the tentacle monster and on the alien planet, and even defeating Queen Bee, right?
Yeah. So dynamic. Rodriguez turning in some of his best work.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't believe this was the same Rodriguez, just because it's so different from what I'm used to. So, But yeah, full marks for me. So you
And by the look of it, he colored it himself as well, which it is essential to the look of this book in particular. Like this issue is, obviously the pencils are great. There are a lot of really clean lines, really smooth, pretty light on the shading, but the flat colors and the vibrancy of them is what really sells it.
Yep.
No, it's great. I give it like a 9.
Yeah. I'm gonna. This is the one time where I don't have things rated, where I have stuff rated lower than Connor's. I'm gonna give 8.5, but still enjoyable. Still very enjoyable.